And just like with a lot of these that we go into, that these are loaded with antitoxins. So it seems like with all these things that we search into, if we would just get a little bit of these into our system, especially before anything happens, then it would help our body to get rid of so many things. And as we have here's a little picture of them and what they look like. Well, or we can talk with the chat. There we go. And this is what they look like. These are the dried and these are the berries. Tiny red hawthorn berries are commonly found in North America, Asia, and Europe. The health benefits of hawthorn berries could be associated with their anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and gastroprotective properties. Tangy little fruits may help improve your health, enhance digestion, lower blood pressure, and ease anxiety. So a lot of times too, what we find is, some of you know that when you come up with these problems, our anxiety, our stress goes through the roof, right? If you're diagnosed with something, your anxiety is really a hard thing to deal with. So if you can take something other than what is prescribed that isn't going to hurt your kidneys and your everything else, like this, the hawthorn, then this could very well help to ease anxiety and that stress. The hawthorn plant stems, leaves, and bark also possess important medical properties. So in this article, we will discuss the various health benefits of the hawthorn berries, their nutritional profile, dosage, and any potential side effects. So what we find out is all these different herbs, they're so good for us. They help our body. And a lot of times what we're also finding out is our body has to dump the garbage out. If we can't get the garbage out of our body, then it's just like a dam or anything else that if it's all held up, then it just makes things worse. It just gets worse and worse and worse. So the more we can get those toxins out, and the more that we can get them out of our blood, out of our body, the quicker the better, the more it helps us out. And each body's different, everyone's different. So it depends on which one of these help you out. But again, a lot of people take one of them or take, a spoonful, and then they say, well, it didn't work, because it's not an overnight thing. If you're not a baby, which most of us are not, then it's took years to produce all this harm, and even in 30 years, 30 years of not eating certain things or eating, and it doesn't have to be junk food, so to speak, even the stuff that's in the water, we have to be careful with, especially this time of year in Illinois. They're changing the chemicals in the water so the water don't freeze. Well, those chemicals are, look them up yourself, but the chemicals that are in that water are damaging enough probably to do harm over time. But anyway, we'll go on. Red, tangy, edible berry-like fruit produce the hawthorn tree. Again, it may lower the blood pressure, treat heart failure, improve digestion and bowel movement, and reduce stress and anxiety. So a lot of these times, again, the more that we get that out of the body, and the better off it is for us. So if this can get the bad things out of your body and help you feel better, then more power to it, right? It helps the overall. And again, before the big problems, if we take these things and put them into our diet and eat them, then, it helps us out tremendously throughout our lifetime. It's safe for consumption for all except those who are on medication to improve their heartbeat or taking beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, and nitrates. So with any of these things, if you're, you check with your doctor, but I would say don't let your doctor be the final thing either, because unless it's something against it, right? Now, if this contradicts what you're taking nitrates, you're taking beta blockers, you got a pacemaker, whatever, something of that, of course. But if they just say, oh, this doesn't work, because most of them do, most doctors that you go to, I do it myself. If I go to them or Stephanie goes to them or somebody goes to them, I say, hey, what do you think about this? And usually they say, that don't work, or that don't mean nothing, or that. And actually, that's against their vow, against what they've said, because doctors are supposed to help you. Doctors are not supposed to lie. They take an oath, right? So they're not supposed to lie. And that is borderline lying if you say something doesn't work and you don't have evidence, or someone does have evidence that is different, right? So to me, that's kind of, hypocritical of someone who says that they are trying to help you, and then they turn around and say it don't work, and they don't even know what they're talking about. That's a bad decision, right? It's kind of like reading the Bible and saying, oh, that ain't gonna. Well, wait a minute, it didn't work for me. Well, how are you living? What are you doing? How's your life before all this? You can't just read a page and say, it all works together. So how often can you consume it? You consume it 3 times, well, thrice daily, 3 times in moderation. Now, this may cause nausea, dizziness, headache, cardiac, and gastro symptoms in some people. It is not recommended for children, pregnant, or breastfeeding women. So again, a lot of these are considered, especially in other countries, as medicines. They're not just something to munch on all day. It's not something to take 3 spoonsful of and say, so a lot of this we got to consider it as medicine, and just as much as somebody that would give you, a prescription drug in some cases. Some are just not as potent as others. This one ain't as potent, but some horsehound and some of them, they're immediate, within 20 minutes, usually I feel something myself, you get something out of it. So you have to be careful with over or taking too much of some of the more stronger things. All right, so we'll go on. It may help and treat heart failure. Now, this should be something that when you go to the heart doctor and you go to these specialists, I believe should be on the list, right? And yet it's never there. It seems like I've yet to hear anybody say that I'm taking this or that. Usually they're taking something else, right? And something every day. And those somethings every day tell you not to get in the sun, tell you not to do this, tell you not to do that. You get sunburned, and the health benefits, especially over 10 to 20 years, are not good and potentially fatal. And if you watch any TV and them commercials at the end of it, and they tell you, this causes this and heart failure and this and this and this, and some people have died, especially unless it's a very serious case of something like heart failure or something, I would be very careful with a lot of those things. The narrowed arteries in the heart gradually leave your heart too weak to pump blood efficiently, leading to heart failure. Trials conducted on 855 patients with chronic heart failure showed that the Hawthorn improved heart function and blood circulation when used in combination with conventional treatments. So again, these things are something that have been tried. They're not just me saying, hey, guess what? I'm taking things that I researched, and I suggest you do the same thing. You research these things, and if it pertains to you, and you try just a little bit first, right? I've known people that take spoonfuls and handfuls. It's like, don't do that. And that's why, I don't buy, sell, or mess with any of that kind of the subject. I just put the information out, and it's on the person, the individual, to do those things. A study conducted on patients with chronic heart failure stage 2, people with symptoms of fatigue, population, and dyspnea, even with ordinary physical activity, found that those who took hawthorn berry extract had fewer symptoms. So, we have good reports of what it does, and especially heart failure. That can be worse than cancer, because even in cancer, through prayer, fasting, through, the right things, people are still living that's had it. People that 20, 30 years later. So heart failure sometimes is a harder thing believe it or not, than cancer, because the heart sometimes don't react. Where if you bombard cancer with certain things or get it out of your system and do the right things and help your body, then it can do a lot more sometimes. So, however, more studies are needed. So we need you to take some Hawthorn and come back and tell us if it works, right? And that's overall, it's kind of like the unity thing. It's kind of like what we're trying to do, gather together. The more information we have, the more people we have, the more states we have, the more everything we have, the better it is for everybody, and especially those who's a part of it, right? So if we're all a part of that, we are helping each other out. But if you live in a hermit town and a hermit crab in a hermit place, then guess what? You don't know nothing about town or the people or anything, because you don't have that. And that's where I think a lot of things are missing, especially in the medical field. We just have, most of us, myself included, don't go to the doctor unless you need something, right? Unless something's cut off, bleeding, it stitches or something. And therefore we don't really know, because we're not taught these things. But in scripture, it talks of the different, the different positional things. And the more that you dig into it, the more you find balm of Gilead and all these things. What do they mean? Where do they come from? How do we make them? What are they used for? And that's where all this, I believe, comes in. So the hawthorn berry contains flavonoids, polyphenols, and its extract has been found to work well for patients with chest pain caused by reduced blood flow. So it's not like just a stress attack, you're just upset. But it also says it helps with that too. But that is more important when you have true chest pain because of reduced blood flow. Because if that keeps happening, we all know the end result of that, right? It improves the blood flow and oxygen supply of the heart. And I believe this is also something that causes what they call dementia or forgetfulness and those types of things too. When you don't get that blood to your brain, then your brain isn't going to work. It's not going to function right. If it doesn't function right, how many different things, even the more it happens, the more people fall down, they fall over, they or get unresponsive, until that can open back up and they get their true correct oxygen to their brain. And your brain is one thing that without oxygen, it don't last long. So again, these are very important things that are, that people are dealing with. Hawthorn berry is said to possess the anti-atherosclerosis. I have to about Google some of these things sometimes. Properties, and may prevent the accumulation of cholesterol, fats, and plaque on the artery walls. These are other forms of cancer and those things, according to scientific facts, really, of people that do this. The more that your arteries and your walls and your body just slows down, for lack of effectiveness, because we was made by the Creator, right? And the Creator made us in this perfect healing way. And the more that we have McDonald's, I love beating them up. The more we have that, whatever that stuff is, the more your body it builds all that up. And the hardening of the arteries, the plaque, and this is what leads to heart problems and heart failure, heart attacks, the dementia, all those type of things. A lot of that is your oxygen just ain't getting to your brain, and your brain just can't do what it's supposed to do. So this is another way to combat that and keep that out. And again, some of these take a while. There's tests that people smarter than me, that recommend that you can test your blood work, and you can have these tests to let you know the levels and how this goes down. And you can request them. In Mississippi, there's a place in Gulfport, in Illinois. There's different places. I should have got that, wrote it down. There's different places that you can go online and you can call them, and they will test for these things. And you don't even have to have like a doctor to do it. It's just You do it, you say, look, especially if you're diagnosed with something like hardening of the arteries or plaque or any of these things, you say, I want to test for this. You get it tested, and then you can see the chart. You can see if it's coming down, because you don't want to just take something to take it. We're not doing something just to do it. We're doing this to help to health, right? So you don't want to just take something for 3-4 weeks and see, well, nothing happened. You might want to switch up. But if it does work, then it works. So anyway, we'll go on. Research shows that the flavonoids in hawthorn berries interact with the enzymes that help enhance myocardial contractility, the ability of the heart muscle to contract. So, it's got to pump the blood. And remember, it's a muscle, so it's got to pump that blood. And if it doesn't pump it correctly, then you have low blood pressure, you have high blood pressure, depending on what's going on. In this case, we're talking about the low blood pressure, right? Hawthorn berry has been used for treating high blood pressure. A study conducted by Universal Reading found that the hawthorn extract can have a hypotensive effect. Hawthorn relaxes the blood vessels and allows blood to flow more easily. And it's the same thing stress does too as well. When you get stressed, whether it be at work or whatever you're doing, that your body starts getting more hyper, right? It starts trying to flow more blood. Everything works a little bit harder. So that's where it helps in the stress level as well. Hawthorn relaxes the blood vessels and allows blood to flow more easily. Its active components were found to cause vascularization, the reduction in tension of the blood vessel walls in rat studies. So again, anything that we're, just like a water hose outside in the heat in the summertime, it's great, right? But if you let it sit there too long, it'll bubble up. And if you don't do something, if you don't let that water out, it can bust the water hose. Well, the same thing with our veins. If we don't get ourselves taken care of and get that plaque out and take care of what's supposed to be taken care of, then we can have some problems that become very, very life-threatening even. In another small-scale study conducted on 79 individuals with type 2 diabetes, the daily intake of 1,200 grams of hawthorn extract for 16 weeks, along with prescription drugs, was found to lower blood pressure. No herb-drug interactions were recorded during this controlled trial. However, more human studies are always welcome and wanted, right? But we know good and well that if they're doing these things and it's helping out, it's helping out. Now, are we ever going to get the results that say what they truly do without an individual? And again, without a congregational person? That's why I think it's so important, again, that we combine together and we help each other out with even health benefits. May improve the digestion. And this again is another problem that I'm finding more and more with people that have cancers, that have problems, that have a long-term diagnosis, illness type thing, that the digestive system and that coming out, right, that becomes a problem. It comes anytime that it's not normal, then everything again gets all jammed up. So we have a problem with that. So the berries and extracts have been used in traditional medicine for treating the digestive problems. The flavonoid compounds in the hawthorn berry extract showed anti-inflammatory, gastroprotective, antimicrobial, and free radical scavenger properties. Its gastroprotective effect was tested in rats with ulcers. It was also found to exhibit bacterial activity against gram-positive bacterial, such as micrococcus, flavors, Bacteria subtilis, and Listeria monocytogenes. Dried hawthorn fruit contains antioxidants and digestive improving agents that were found to accelerate the gastrointestinal transit in mice. I know, we want to know all this about people, but we got to take what we get, right? But you can do the research for yourself and find out Again, a lot of it's other countries I've found that's more truthful, I guess you would say, that have the human research. I mean, we all know when people have problems and they don't have money, then they go to research mode, right? And when they go to research mode, that's where a lot of this that we find out. And of course, if you take something like this, it don't cost a fortune. So there is studies in other countries, China, Indonesia, Germany. Even Germany has a lot of studies that they do of things like this as well, and things that are not harmful and is bad to the body without the long-term side effects. We are getting close. We'll go, including the hawthorn berry. The study attempted to test the herbs with the use of the 16S rDNA sequence analysis and understand the change in their microbialism and prebiotic potential. So there's another thing that we found out we've known for a while, but according to like the DNA, and according to some scientists and to some researchers, that just like the not everybody does this, but just like some of the people that count these, I'm going to take this off. Some people that count their seats, right? They do the 10, 5, 6, 5. Well, according to scientists and some researchers, that is your DNA. Imagine that. So your DNA is coded with the creator, right? The Yudevave, the Yahweh. So if that is true, then what basically happens is when we eat something that we're not supposed to eat, especially the bioengineered something, is it made that way, or is it made for so we can buy it for 99 cents? I don't know. I'm not even going to go there. But the fact that I'm trying to point out to is, if our DNA, our code, right, your DNA, that little ladder-like thing, that, and if it truly is that 10,5,8,5 or that sequence of the creator, and then of course Yeshua had the perfect DNA as well. So what I'm trying to get at is, if we break that down, if we break any one of those DNA codes, scientists tell us that's what causes disease. When we break, that's what cancer and a lot of these illnesses are, is our body at a cellular level has broken the code and it's starting to produce something else. And if we can stop it to produce that and make it to produce what it's supposed to produce, the healing process, all that working together, then that's what worked, right? So saying all that, mouthful, to say, if these control that and help that, and we see that as our food, and we can put that intake, it enhances our very DNA, is what I'm getting at. So there's studies, and research all this yourself, of course, look into all these things, but there is studies of all this, and how something that just hawthorn berry, it's a little, a little berry, a little tree, a little thing, and you eat the dried one, you eat the bark, you eat the leaf. But it's amazing to me that the creator has made something so important in something so small. The faith in the grain of a mustard seed, it's amazing that this can do so much with such a little berry, that it could even, according to some studies, protect your DNA and help your DNA from, and at the same time, it's getting rid of the junk, right? So all that junk that we eat, breathe, whatever, up here, we were just out, and they're always late, it seems like, doing the fields, and all that stuff from the fields, whatever they spray on it, crop dusters, I mean, they do it all anymore. So all that junk, unless you got a quick bubble, which we don't, you drive right through. We drive right through. So whatever that is, unless you can hold your breath for about 12 minutes to drive through it, whatever that is going to go through your system, go through your body. You're touching it, you're smelling it, so a little bit of prevention goes a long way. So some of these things I would suggest would help us out. And again, try them for yourself. I'm not recommending it, but I'm just saying, if it the shoe fits wear it, right? Hawthorn berries can reduce anxiety. In a study, hawthorn extract with a combination of 5 other extracts showed a mild sedative effect and helped lower anxiety in patients with anxiety disorders. Another study conducted by the University of Reading found that the hawthorn exhibited hypotensive and anti-anxiety effects. The extracts of hawthorn proved safer and more effective when compared with the placebo. So this is what we got to watch too, folks, because they're a placebo. They're giving people like a water pill, sugar pill, whatever you want to call it. And these people are taking nothing, and these people are taking it. So that kind of is some kind of a test to begin with, I would say. But anyway, we know that it's out there. We know we can take it. We know what it does. And I, again, would research that you take consideration of these things, especially for children. There's people go to the doctor and their kid won't sit down in class and they won't do this, they won't do that. And the first thing they want to do is say, here's this pill. And most of these pills are very, very harmful. And they're very, very bad for the body. Liver, kidneys, especially over time, and most of them are designed to never get off of, or at least until they're, in their teens or older. And a lot of people that do that, I found that they just, they always, even in their adult, even working, take these as well. So this could be something to supplement for that as well. In the closing of it, the extracts of the hawthorn proved safer and more effective when compared with the placebo for treating anxiety disorders. You can take 2 cups of hawthorn berries and hawthorn tea every day post your meals to help reduce anxiety. So we will stop there because I think our time is there anyway. But again, it's I would suggest you look into it. If it pertains to you, you would look over and find what it can do for you. Till next time, shalom. If you have any questions or comments, now is the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna try Hawthorn.